Welcome to Code Learners Hub. Today we'll be learning about strings in Python. Strings are basically a train of characters. How do they look like? They're usually put in double quotes or in single quotes. They can be an arrangement of alphabets or of numbers, or basically a mixture of any different type of characters. How to find length of a string? We put the string inside the len function. It returns an integer value. Let us see this. Let us assign a to apple. Now, let us print the length of a using the len function. Since a is assigned to apple and a is a string, apple is of 5 characters and len of a is returning 5. Now if we say orange, oranges, and then print the length of a, this returns 7. What are the arithmetic operations possible with strings? You can only add a string to any other string. An example would be adding apple, a string, to pie, another string, which will return apple pie. Now, what is string 12 plus string 13? You might say 25, but that's wrong. It returns 1213. Since 12 inside a string does not have any numeric value, otherwise it is a string. So 12 a string plus 13 a string just get concatenated instead of adding in their values. Let us see this in code. Print hello, and then let's add hello to world. This returns hello world. I'm sorry, this prints hello world. Let us add 12 and 13 as integers. This returns 25. In our case, when we add string 12 and string 13, it returns 1213, since string 12 and string 13 do not have any numeric value. Instead, they are strings. Another arithmetic operation is multiplication. You can multiply a string only to integers and not to any other data type. When you multiply a string to an integer, it concatenates itself the integer number of times. Here, in this example, apple times 3 returns apple concatenated to itself 3 times. Similarly, string 2 into 3 is not 6 as we expect. Since 2 is a string and does not have any numeric value, it returns 2, 2, 2. Let us see this in code. If I say a is apple and multiply a2 4 times and then print it, it prints apple 4 times concatenated to itself. If I say a is 3 and print a times 3, it prints 9. Instead, if I assign a to string 3 and print the value a into 4 returns, it prints 3, 3, 3, 3 4 times. Now let's move on to indexing. Indexing allows you to access nth character in a string. Strings are 0 indexed. What does this mean? The first character of a string is indexed as 0, or when you want to access the first element in the string, you must ask for the 0th index. We can also access the string using negative indices. We use -1 for the last character and in decreasing order from there on. We cannot access indices out of range. What does this mean? We'll see this in the code. Firstly, let us say there's a string apple. Here, A is indexed as 0, P is indexed as 1, P is indexed as 2, L is indexed as 3, E is indexed as 4. Similarly, as we discussed about negative indices, E is indexed as -1, L is indexed as -2, P is indexed as -3, P is indexed as -4, and A is indexed as -5. We will look into this in practice in the code. Let us say A is equals to Tarur. Now, if you want to access T in the string A, you want to say A of 0. A of 0 is T. A of 1 is H. A of 2 is A. Similarly, A of 3 is R. A of 4 is O. A of 5 is O. A of 6 is R. Now what happens if I access A of 7? It throws out a string index out of range error, since we ran out of the pointers in the string. This is what we mean by the fourth point, which discusses saying we cannot access indices out of the range. Range being minus length of string and length of string minus 1. Here, length of A is 7. Length of A minus 1 is 6. And we evidently couldn't access A of 7, but only till A of 6. Now let us see negative indices. What is A of minus 1? It is R, the last character of A. What is A of minus 2? O, the last second character. Similarly, if we access A of minus 7, this returns T, which is negative length of A. Can we access A of minus 8? No, this is because we cannot access out of the range from minus of length of A and plus of length of A, minus 1. Here, in Tharur, as an example, we could access from minus 7 to 6, which is 7 minus 1. Let us move on to slicing. Slicing is something in a string which returns you a substring of the string. How to use it? We'll see this in practice. A is assigned to apple. If we say A of 0 colon 1, this returns A. If we say A of 0 2, this returns AP. So basically, we are getting A of 0th index and A of first index. So, slicing helps you to get a substring of the given string. If you want to get APP, we say A of 0 to 3, which returns APP. Now, what do we do if we want PLE? We either use A of 3. Remember, the first index is counted. A of 2, which is 0th index is A, first index is P, and second index is P. So P is counted, L is 3, E is 4. If we put A of 2 to 4, we get PL. So what must be considered? When we slice, the end index must be 1 greater than the index you want to you want to find out. A of 2 to 5 returns PLE. Like in indexing, there is no issue when you index something out of range. If I want to access A of 2 to 10, you simply get PLE and then it stops iterating and finding your string. We can do this with negative numbers as well. If I say A of -3 to -1, we get PL. Since -3 is P and -1 is E. P to E excluding E. -3 to -1 excluding -1. We can also add another number into indexing which says the step of the slice. If I say A of 0 to 10 and 1 as a step, this is how you assign step to slice. When it is 1, you increment index from 0 to 10 by step 1. So you get A of 0, A of 1, A of 2, A of 3, and so on, A of 9. Now if I say A of 0, colon, A of 10, colon, 2, now we increment this by 2. So we get A of 0, A of 1, we miss it, A of 2, yes we get it, A of 3, we miss it, A of 4, yes we get it. So we get A, P, and E. Let us move on to strip, L strip, and R strip of a string. Strip removes a string mentioned inside the brackets from both front and back of the string. Let us see this in code. If I say A equals to apple, and I say A dot strip of A, this returns PPLE. It removes A from both the front and the back. What happens if I strip P from A? It simply returns apple. This is because P is not available in the ends of apple. Rather, it is in the middle. L strip removes string mentioned inside the brackets only from the front of the string. And R strip removes string mentioned in the brackets from the back of the string. Let us see this in code. A is assigned to apple. Now A dot L strip of A returns PPLE. A of L strip of E must return APPL according to the logic of strip, but it returns simply apple. This is because L strip strips only from the front. Now A dot R strip of A returns apple again. This is because A as a character is in the front of apple and R strip only strips from the back. Rather, if you strip E from A, it returns APPL. The string inside the brackets need not be a character. It can be a sequence of strings as well. For example, A dot R strip of PLE returns A. Since P is a character inside the strip, it removes P n number of times when it is available in the right side. Now let us move on to replace function. The replace function replaces a given string with another given string. We use this by giving the first input as a string to replace and the second input as a string to replace with. Let us see this in action to understand. A is apple. A dot replace of pp comma bb. This simply returns a b b l e. So we replaced pp inside apple to bb. What happens if I replace P with B? It still returns ABBLE. It still returns ABBLE. Since all the P's inside A are replaced with a B. Let's move on to the count function. The count function returns the number of occurrences of a given string inside the original string. We use it with the string to count given inside the parameters. A being apple, let us count the number of P's inside A. It returns 2 since there are 2 P's inside A or apple. Let us count number of E's inside apple, 1. Let us count number of T's inside apple. It is 0. I hope you understand this. Let's move on to the index function. The index function finds at which index a given string starts at in the string it is matched to. We provide the string to find index of inside the brackets. Let us see this in code. A being apple again, if we find A dot index of P, it returns 1 since F1 is P. What if we find index of PLE? This returns 2 since PLE starts at the second index. Now let us find index of B. This returns an error saying substring. This returns an error saying substring not found. This is an error with index. Whenever there is a string provided to it which is not available in the original string to find with to match to, it throws an error. Now let's see find function. The find function works similar to index, but it returns -1 instead of throwing an error when it does not find a given string to match. Let us see this in action. A dot find of P. This returns 1 as usual. A dot find of PLE returns 2 as expected. Now, where index returns an error when we ask the index of B inside apple, here A dot find of B returns -1. It is always a good measure to use find instead of index to avoid unwanted errors inside your program. Now let us see the functions upper, lower, capitalize, and title. The upper function converts the given string completely to uppercase. The lower function converts a given string completely to lowercase. The capitalize function converts the first character of a given string to uppercase. The title function converts the first letter of a given string of words to uppercase. Let us see this in action. Let us say A is, there is a great man I know. Now, if I use the upper function, this returns, there is a great man I know, completely in uppercase. Now, A is still the same. Now, if I use the lower function, it returns all the characters in there is a great man I know. It returns all the characters in the sentence, there is a great man I know, to lower. Here, the capital I is converted to small I. What if I use A dot capitalize? This returns everything else being smaller but the first character. A dot capitalize returns the string with every other character in lowercase but the first character. It converts the first character to uppercase. What happens if I use A dot title? It converts all the first characters of every word in the given string to capitals. Now let's move on to starts with, ends with, is alpha, is digit, is alum functions. Starts with function returns if a string starts with a given other string, given input string. Starts with function returns if a given string starts with an input string. Let us see this in action. We have A as there is a great man I know. I ask A dot starts with there. This returns true, since indeed A starts with there. Now, if I say A dot starts with May, this returns false, since the start of A is not May. Ends with returns if a given string ends with the input string. Let us see this in code. A is there is a great man I know. A dot ends with I know as an input gives true, since the sentence of A indeed exits with I know, ends with I know. A dot ends with apple returns false, since the end of A is not apple, rather it is something else. Is alpha returns true if a given string is completely alphabets. What does this mean? A is there is a great man I know. A dot is alpha returns false. Since there are spaces between the string. If A is assigned to apple and A dot is alpha is called, it returns true, since every character in A is a alphabet. Each digit returns if a given string is completely a digit. What does this mean? If A, let us see this in code. A dot each digit returns false. Since A is assigned to apple string and no character in it is a digit. What does A dot, let us say A equals to string of 1 to 3. Now A dot each digit returns true. What if A is equals to A12? This returns false as well. This is because not all the characters inside A are digits. Is_alnum returns true if a given string is completely comprised of digits or alphabets. What does this mean? A is 1, 2. A dot is alpha returns false since there are digits inside the string. A dot is digit returns false since it has characters or alphabets in it. A dot is_alnum returns true. This is because it is comprised of alphabets and digits alone. There are many more methods inside the class of string. You can use the help method to find out these methods, and you can use the help method to find out these methods and experiment with them. You can do that by using help of A. You can do that by using help of str. When you expand this, you find out all the different functions and their explanations in the string. Hope you understand this explanation. Thank you for learning with us. Happy coding!